Paper Mario is way too long of a game to have the gimmicky controls that it has for every single fight in the game. Hit left on the control stick as fast as you can. Mash A, mash A, mash A and B, mash A and B. A game that should have been a really great time ruined by Mario Party controls. Welcome to completion number 88 of the Potato Backlog Project. I'm here to dump on what's probably your favorite childhood game. This one is loved by many for sure. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video for the paper thin Tater Raider, and let's talk about Paper Mario. Released worldwide in 2001 for the Nintendo 64, Paper Mario is thought of as the spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo. Nintendo released the game for Wii U Virtual Console, and it is also currently available through Switch Online services. I never did own this game when it came out. I didn't have the rose-tinted nostalgia glasses on while playing through it for the first time, and I think that's why so many things bothered me with it. I love Mario, I love the character, but I did not enjoy my playthrough of Paper Mario. And there were actually quite a few things about the game that bothered me, but I mostly want to talk about the one thing that made it difficult to even want to complete the game: the gimmicky button press battle system. Paper Mario is a 20+ hour completion. You fight a lot of bad guys and bosses in this time. There are mechanics in place for your moves and your companions' moves that require specific controller inputs to maximize the effectiveness of these moves. Not only are these inputs needed for basic damaging moves, companion moves that cause status effects to Mario and enemies are also affected. Depending on your mashing or how you timed your presses, you can easily end up just wasting full turns and not getting anything out of the things you're trying to do. I think the idea for this mechanic comes directly from Super Mario RPG. It's been a long time since I played that game, but I remember a simple version of this in that you would just time a button press or two with the action that was happening on the screen. This would then give you a little bonus damage to the already standard damage of the move that you were doing, like hitting the A button exactly when Mario lands on the top of an enemy's head. The misstep in Paper Mario, outside of the crazy inputs it requests, is that if you don't get the button presses right, it's a wash. You do next to no damage. Instead of making it a bonus, something extra for more advanced players, the game makes it so you have to do these inputs. They designed entire moves around it. Every single time, every single fight, every single bad guy, every single time to effectively play and complete this game. And that just wears you down. Example of the Ghost Companion's standard attack: you need to hit left on the control stick as fast as you can to get a multi-hitting move from her. That's how you get the full damage. If you don't hit fast enough, you'll get one hit, and that pretty much wastes your turn. These are Mario Party style control mechanics stuffed into an RPG where they just aren't needed. And the control mechanics aren't just limited to offense. You will need to use them on defense as well. This works a little bit better in my eyes, as you'll end up needing to pay attention to attack animations and time one button press to lower the damage you take. This keeps you engaged in the battles, and it was challenging but fair, as the timings can be pretty tight and enemies change up their attacks to throw your timing off. The simplicity of this just kept it a little bit more fun. Paper Mario did manage to also ruin this at times, as there are enemies introduced in the later game that you need to mash the A button to get off of you. These are guys that can also replicate themselves, so there are areas in the game where you end up for 45 minutes to an hour roaming around, and you just end up constantly mashing A that whole time defending against these enemies, while also having to hit all the buttons for the offense. And it's just a little too much for a single battle for a couple of little low-level enemies. If there had been an option to turn these required inputs off, maybe even keep them all simple like Mario RPG, or even like Mario's jump in this game, I probably would have enjoyed the battles more and enjoyed the game more. I could go into my issues with the leveling system, but this is more of an introductory type of RPG, so the simplicity of it is something I can understand. Most people probably won't take the same issues with it that I have. The biggest one being that you don't actually get any stronger defensively or offensively when you level up, and the enemies that you defeat give you less experience after you level up. The problem with that I have is, for example, let's say you're level 9, you have a little trouble killing a flying Goomba, you level yourself up to 10 or even 11, and you will still have that same trouble defeating that same Goomba. Now you'll just get less reward for doing it, because Mario's power is based on the items that you find. A new hammer, new boots, etc. And there's a badge system to power up and add new abilities, which is based on point allocation. I know why they do it this way. It's to balance the game difficulty with your story progression and not get too overpowered. It's just trying to give most players a similar experience. The problem for me is that it's directly linked to the battle mechanics themselves and all the input crap that I just talked about. Why would I care about leveling up when I know it won't make it any easier to beat any of the bad guys I'm currently struggling with or dealing with in that area? It won't make it so I can kill them any faster, and it won't make it so I have any less crazy controller inputs to do overall. It made me start actively avoiding fights so I could save my resources for the area boss battles. And let's not even get into the item limit system implemented in this game. The game limits you from carrying more than 10 items at any given time. This is not something you can level up or change throughout the game. They do allow you to store up to 30 items at the shop and switch them out whenever you're there, but there's no good fast travel system to go unload items at the shop quickly. Why? Why was this a thing? Again, I assume it was for some sort of game balance, since coins were not hard to get, and neither were the items. I liked using offensive items, since I was able to do solid damage without playing Mario Party minigames on my controller. But the game again takes that away from me with the item limit. I would have actively grinded out battles for coins just to stock up on items, just to avoid having to do all the wacky button presses in the longer, crazier levels of the game. The visuals here hold up for me mostly because they are simple. I think it shows a little bit of that Nintendo genius in their visual design choices. In a time when everyone else was trying to push more and more to 3D polygonal looks, they go with a paper cutout style, something the system could handle and run just fine back then. And 20 years later, it's a style that still holds up and still has a charming look to it. I guess the only miss there is outside of a few gags and jokes, everything being paper didn't really apply to the gameplay or the story in any way. This was done in later installments of Paper Mario games though, so it's something I didn't really think about too much. Playing Paper Mario was a chore. It was a slog. It was the unfun type of grind. Every time it got something good going for it, maybe it made me smile, maybe a good boss fight, an interesting part of the world, or meeting a fun character, those things were almost immediately overshadowed by the battle input systems. They just ruined the entire experience for me. 2 happy potato faces out of 5. I'm happy for the people that got to play this game as kids, and they hold it in such high regard, because in 2024, this is a gaming experience that just didn't do it for me. For me, it just doesn't hold up. So with that, the Backlog project rolls on. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments. Is it your favorite? Do you like it? Tell me why. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind to yourselves and others that deserve it. We're on to the next one. I'm here to take a dump. That you were going to doing.